Hello, good morning, and welcome to episode 53 of Nebula Quest, or, as I like to call it, the affirmation episode. I am Noden, your host, as always, so affirmations be abound. Yes, so, I am not a liar. So, you may have recalled, I don't know if I said it in this, or if I said it in the episode of Space Coffee, that I suspected that Horizons would not be... That's Elite Dangerous Horizons would not be long off before it became a public release, and I was right. Yes, I was. So, they've announced the actual release date for Elite Dangerous Horizons, and it is Tuesday the 15th of December, so that's just 4 days away from the time I'm recording this. That's very soon, which means that even theoretically, our next episode of of Nebula Quest could be in Horizons, and that's pretty exciting. So, yes, I'm really excited that it's come along quite as quickly as this, and that we can enjoy it. Along with that, they also they've got those new those new fandangled bobbleheads, which will be also apparently available Tuesday if you're into that sort of thing. I haven't even checked them out. I think they've got some with like a mask or something. I don't know if there's more than just the one, but certainly those were the ones that I've seen. And they're pretty cool looking. Edmund doesn't need a lot of decoration. He's not a decoration kind of ship. And if you're wondering, the bobbleheads are for your ship, I believe, and they kind of just go on your dash, like over there or something. And they just kind of hang out and bobble as you... If you've seen Space Cowboys, it's like the hula girl, and it kind of danced all the way to the moon. Actually, I would prefer if I could get a hula girl. That would be amazing. I have a hula girl just over there on the shelf, just for such case. In case I ever go to space, I'm gonna put it on my dash of my spaceship. Little hula girl. Space Cowboys, not that great of a movie, but that part definitely influenced me. Number two thing that has influenced me, not influenced me. The number two things that I was right about. I wasn't really right about this, but I hope you were all watching just recently the season finale of Doctor Who, and then you heard a couple of words and went, Noden was right, that son of a bitch.
Frameshift drive charging.
Without giving any kind of spoilers or anything like that, at some point, the Doctor looks at Clara, I believe it was Clara, and said, never eat pears, they're too squishy. And now, those aren't my exact words, I fully admit, but it does mean that both I and the Doctor understand the assholeness of pears to some degree or another, and I feel better in knowing that we share that. Yes, that's good enough. That's good enough. That's good enough, like, you know, that's enough for me. You know, sometimes that's all you need. Just a little affirmation from the Doctor and a sip of tea. No space coffee today. I just had my
drive charging.
So, you don't know this, but I know this. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've really only woken up about 2 hours ago. So I just had a cup of coffee. I really couldn't spare another cup of coffee in my system just yet. I don't know if I ever mentioned my hydration issues. I don't know if they actually are issues or if they're in my head. I remember I never got dehydrated as a child. Never worried about these things. Never anything. All right, let's get this slowed down a little bit. Let's get a little fuel scooping. Actually, we can point at this. Run a dubstep scanner while we talk. Oh, just stare into a bright light for a long time. Nothing new. That's all dandy then. But there is an orbit line. Oh crap, there was an orbit line on that last one too, wasn't there? Fuck, we were supposed to do that. Oh well. Not the end of the world. Yeah, so I actually have... I don't know if they are... I get really bad dehydration headaches. Like, to the point that they turn into migraines.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
And it's not cool. You know, it's just not cool, bro. Trying to get away from this a bit so I can take a look and see if I can find out what else is orbiting around here. So I monitor That looks like a thing. I really monitor my fluid intakes and try to, certainly lately, I've been really trying to watch my, not caffeine intake per se, but be aware of my caffeine intake. Mostly because the way that it was explained to me is that, like, things with caffeine is a dehydrant, so you don't, it takes water away. And, well, then you go, oh, well, yes, but it's got water in it. So basically, I always count, like, things like coffee or even tea to a certain extent, pop definitely as a neutral in my hydration flow. So they don't count for anything. They're sort of things that you take in and they give you nothing. Whereas water is something I drink a lot of, and I do drink a lot of water. That's 100%, kind of a thing. So it's those count in the positives, and coffee counts in the negatives or the nothings, because it's really easy for me. And the big issue is that it's really easy for me to just forget about it. And I think most people are like that. Like, they don't think about, oh, you should be getting X amount of fluids in or something like that. And if my body hadn't developed now into a stage where if I get slightly dehydrated, I get a massively bad headache, I wouldn't worry about it either. But that's just the way that over time my body has gotten used to telling me, hey, you're dehydrated. And that's sort of it. Like, our bodies do adapt that way to kind of give us the information that we need to say, hey, like, it starts off with like, oh, your tongue's a little dry, maybe you should just, like, maybe, or your lips are a little cracky, maybe you should just, maybe you should have a little drink or something. And then eventually and then it goes, oh, yeah, you're really thirsty, so we're gonna make it feel like you're hungry, and then that way maybe you'll drink something while you eat, because you won't stop fucking stuffing stuff in your face when it's solid. And then when that doesn't work, and it's like, all right, fine, we're gonna start by like making you really, really, really annoyed with this headache, and that's kind of like the progression. And now my body just skips straight to the headache because it knows that I can just easily forget about the other three things or whatever. At all the other intermediate steps, my body knows, like, I'm not even gonna pay attention. It's like, oh, we don't even bother calling John unless it's, really important. So that's pretty much, now it's like, listen, if you need to get hold of him, make sure you type SOS into your text message or else he will not respond. That is basically the equivalent. It's like every little minor thing, like, ooh, paper cut, call 911. That's what my body does. To remind me about hydration. That was a really long explanation about the fact that I drink a lot of water because I get headaches. Actually, that's a really long explanation of why I'm drinking tea and not coffee. Yes. Yeah, so I really kind of, I try to watch it. It's not too bad generally, especially I really try to watch it, like today's Friday, and so that means it's also a gym day for me. And I especially try to make sure that I monitor my hydration on gym days, so that my muscles are nice and cool and have the things they need, the lubrications they need and whatnots for not dying while I go to the gym. Which also means that I don't drink on gym days, because I go to gym late at night, like midnight, most of the time. So I make sure I don't drink with dinner or anything like that, which is, alcohol is a negative, Beer I generally count as kind of a neutral, but really it's still a dehydrant. It's a negative number. That's one you just want to avoid altogether, alcohol. Alright, let's keep going. I did not mean to talk for a few minutes about water. That was not my, let's talk about how your body functions and why it does things with liquids. Let's talk about urination. What color is your pee? Mine is clear. Well, not clear, but nearly clear. A healthy
4,
color.
3, 2, 1, engage.
But yeah. So it's very, I don't know. it's really weird. Like, and it's like I drink, and I do drink a lot of water. Actually, it's one of the great things about, like, I have like a water bottle that I use all the time. It's actually one of these blender bottles without the ball in it. Blender bottle, great fucking invention that is. That's like key. If I take like a water bottle with me to work or something like that, I will drink that water bottle, and that is it. But if I like take a container that I can refill at work, like at any tap or a fountain, or we've got like actual like filtered water dispensing machines at work, like I will drink like 3 or 4 of those in a day, and they hold like 1.5 liters, not a liter, 3/4 of a liter. What do they hold here? 600 mils. So what is that? That's like a pint. Call it a pint. So it's basically, yeah. So I drink like, let's call it 2 and a bit liters of water. Let's call it 2 liters of water. Basically, I drink at work like most days. So over an 8-hour period, that's a lot of water. I go, really, I just do it for the bathroom breaks. Let's be honest. There was no new discoveries. That looks like an orbit line. Once again, we have a thing to discover. So let's just. How are we doing on fuel? We're doing okay. I'm still really like guessing that's probably a thing.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Really anxious about fuel after having run out on my Horizons run. And, oh no, that's it right there. So now I'm getting really anal about it, which is weird because, like, we came, I think, fairly close to running out in this show once upon a time, early on. Again, when we went through that brown dwarf desert, and which is the best description of it. Like, it's a fuel desert. There's just no fuel from like any stars. Like, there are a couple of oasis stars, which would be the best fucking name for them. Okay, so I know we can name planet. I think we can name planets now if we discover a new planet. But if we could name stars, that'd be the best. And there would be just huge sections of space that I would just name Oasis. It would just be the Oasis section. Or it'd be like the desert. I'd call it the desert, and then there would be like random Oasis stars, and those would be like the designations. I'd just call it or I'd give it like Delta. I'd be like D5172, and then like the Oasis would be whatever. The point is that there are Oasis out there, and I'm constantly worried about running out of fuel now. Okay, so do we think this is a thing? Oh yes, it's most definitely a thing. Using the old let's see if it moves against the background trick, which should work in space. I mean, if you could travel at these speeds, it should be fine. Oh, and speaking of space, okay, so I wanted to talk about, not space per se, but, okay, sort of. I wanted to talk about Star Wars. Now, so the new Star Wars films are also coming out next week, which is next Thursday, I believe. I'll be going to see the new Star Wars film. And, so, gearing up to that, I have watched, all the original ones, so that's 4, 5, and 6 again. And which, I mean, I watch annually, basically. I watch them at least once a year, have for the last, 20 years. Maybe not quite that long, but a long-ass time. Alright, let's take a look at this. Probably brown dwarf. Wow. But, so I've been rewatching them, and this is the first time that I've actually watched what is it, the new editions of them? I broke down and bought them on iTunes just because I wanted to put them on the big TV, and I don't have VHS hooked up to the big TV anymore. And that's literally it. I've watched my old VHS's salvageable wreck. No shit. Well, I don't have anything to salvage, I don't think. Any way to salvage anything. I kind of want to check that out, but I also kind of... Oh, it's gone. Okay, never mind. I kind of want to check it out, but I also kind of don't want to be jumped by pirates. Oh, okay. Alright, so Star Wars, I'll get back to that. And just, like, we're running out of time, but well, I'll talk about it in a second. So, going through and playing Horizons and being, like, in inhabited space again, I forgot completely about the hassles of flying in, like, habitable space. Specifically, being interdicted all the fucking time. I completely forgot that that was even a thing. I'm just like flying along, minding my own business. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just go get a Coke or something like that. And I'm just about to get out of my chair, and suddenly it's like, I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about this. I'm like trying to like remember how to like fly through the wormhole thing to avoid the interdiction, and then I almost made it, and then the guy was shooting at me, and I had to fly away. None of it's on film, obviously, because professional. And but yeah, I completely forgot that that was even a thing. You kids who fly around in normal space, I don't know how you do it. I do not know how you do it. I'm out here, I got no traffic. There's not another ship on the scope for 1,000,000 miles. Probably. Where's the button? Nothing. Not even a contact. Speaking of which, let's go down here.
Frameshift drive charging.
It's gonna be 45 damn days to get there. But yeah, so Star Wars. So it's the first time that I've watched Star Wars, like the new editions of Star Wars. So that's all the old movies they've put into like digital with their like some extra like little clips and scenes and remastering and extra like special effects and stuff. And most of it, okay, I will say that 75% of it anyways, I could care less about. It's
Fuel scooping.
a lot of it is done really subtly, and whatever. You don't notice it a lot. You notice a little bit like of difference between, I mean, my biggest complaint about the subtle parts of it are, as subtle as most of them are, they often look quite a bit different. We're just going to get fuel, and then we'll look at these other stars next time. I'm going to turn this way, just so that we don't... I'm going to pop this up to about 16. Is that what it was? 16 is where I want it. That's the golden ratio. Sorry, concentrating here. There we go. Let's just pop there. That's fine. As subtle as they are, a lot of times they do look just a little bit different than the original film. Like, it just looks a little too clean next to a little too grainy. Or the colors are just not 110% right. It's very close, but it's like the robots that look too human. Whatever that is, I think that's maybe what it is. Like it's almost, I don't know. It's so close to being exactly right, but it's just that little bit off, and because it's that little bit off, it's really off. Yeah, I don't know. Most of it's fairly subtle, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me that much. There are a few things where it seems like they, like, I don't know, added some like compression to C-3PO's voice or something like that to make sure that he popped out from the backgrounds, that all of his like little jokes and quips were like extra audible. Almost like there's like, oh, it's a British accent. Nobody will ever understand what we're saying. Quick, let's make sure that we really emphasize the words that he says, and then all of his little funny jokes will be extra apparent, and then that will make Jar Jar Binks seem like a lot less of an ass. Which, actually, it kind of does, because when you actually listen to how ridiculous his jokes are through most of it, I mean, honestly, it's pretty bad. I didn't watch the new films again. Just because, man, it doesn't really tell the story much that I need for the new film, and
Fuel scoop disengaged.
it can be just trying to get through those films some days. So that's disengaged.
Cannot comply.
Why can we not comply? Oh, because we're targeted to a thing. So let's unlock destination.
Cannot comply.
Yes, I know. I'm just pushing the wrong button now. But then the other 25% of these things, which are only just like, that aren't just like, you know, extra background animations or like, the best one was on Hoth. And it's the big, like snow battle scene, whatever, and the Imperial Walkers are coming up and they're firing their lasers, whatever. And the best thing I saw in the whole film was a rocket contrail that just and fired off, which wasn't in the original film. I'm fairly certain it wasn't in the original film. If it was, then I'm an idiot. But I'm hoping that this like affirmation episode continues, and that rocket contrail was 100% new, because that was the best thing, where it's just like perfectly subtle. It's just that little dink, just little dink, just to make it look a little extra, I don't know, war-like, and then that was good. And then, like, I don't know, you're in, like, the hangar or something like that in Jedi, and there's, like, extra people walking around, like, and they did a good job of making sure they were both in the foreground and the background, you know, they're kind of walking in front of the actors and behind the actors to kind of make them feel integrated, but you're like, especially for me, because I've seen the other ones so many times, I'm kind of like, who the fuck are all these people? What are they all doing here? These are not the right people. But the other 25% of the time, it's just completely unnecessary things, or like things that don't change the story at all, but like retcon stuff. Oh my god. So the end of Jedi, where they retconned the new Anakin from like the Clone Wars or whatever, into Jedi, where his old dead post Darth Vader-y father used to stand. Why can't we just have the old Darth Vader standing there? I mean, do we really need to put that extra bit of continuity into this old film? Like, and a lot of those things just seemed like, that's what it really felt like. A lot of it felt like retcon to me. Again, Jedi, because that's the one I watched last night. So those are freshest in my mind. Where they've got like, crap, I can't think of what kind of alien he is. The one who walks on his hands, who flew the thing against Anakin in the first, and then in the first of the new of the in episode 1, the main pod racing bad guy. His little alien type, whatever. Suddenly there was one of him in Jabba's palace. And then there was like this whole extra like scene with... Oh, there was a spot with Boba Fett in Jabba's palace, like flirting with some girl or something like that. And then they had to throw in another scene of him like walking away from the girls, so that when Leia, dressed like in disguise, pulls that thermal detonator, like he can be alone when he draws his weapon. It's like, you've had to add stuff because you added stuff. Like, if we just cut that out, like, why do we need any of that in here? Do we need to, like, it was, and then all of that was as if it was like, we did all of that extra work just so that when Boba Fett nods, to say, hey, you did good with your thermal detonator, I respect you, that makes more sense to the audience, because we, the audience, have no idea who the fuck he is, which is mostly true. We have no idea who the fuck he is, or we don't remember, or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of it that's just kind of, I'm just sitting here. We're not even looking at. We're just looking at black, and so let's look at some orange too. There's a lot of little things like that kind of, actually, the one that bothers me the most is the changing of the music. Like the songs at Jabba's palace, even some of the scenes that they cut out from there and inserted new stuff. Where was another big music change? At the end of Jedi with the dance, but the I don't know. It's just so much, like, why do we need to change all this? Like, why do we need to change the music? Again, I'm not the visionary, and maybe it makes sense. Maybe these movies now make more sense. Certainly they feel... This was the first time that I watched it where I kind of really looked at it and said, hey, you know, these movies still really hold up, like, well. Like, they don't seem super old. Like a lot of movies from like the 70s and whatnot, where you look at them and go, oh, those special effects, man. Oh, oh. And a lot of the times you look at the special effects and go, oh, those special effects. But most of the time you don't feel too... Like, it doesn't feel like there's that big of a distance between it. And maybe it's different, again, watching it for the first time. But, and I don't know, it feels like that's what all of this was done, was so that people who are watching this for the first time now can go, okay, I've seen the new movies now I'm going to watch the old movies, and, oh, okay, I can see this makes sense, and has the same feeling that I'm used to, but again, it's more like retcon. What we as Star Wars fans wanted the new movies to be, which is 1, 2, and 3, episodes 1, 2, and 3, we wanted them to be like the old movies. And then they tried and failed, so then when that happened, they retconned the feeling from the first movies into the old movies so that we could feel the same disappointment all over again. So we have a neutral disappointment playing field. I'm excited for the new movie. You know, Force Awakens, I really am. I was trying not to get hyped. I'm not hyped, but I'm excited to see it. I'm in like trailer avoiding zone now as well, so anyways, this is probably the last episode before I see that. When I do see it, we will probably be talking an entire episode just about The Force Awakens, so yeah, that's exciting. But until then, affirm yourself, or whatever, and until then, y'all, I love it. Good night.